Hello, family. Peace. This is Dr. Kia Pruitt. Welcome. I hope everyone can hear me. I do have the volume turned up now. So today is Tuesday, January the 28th, 2024, and the time is 1:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Welcome. I know we don't have a lot of people in the chat because this is an impromptu live that I decided to do today because people have been asking me questions over the weekend that I just wanted to kind of get out the way. So, welcome. It's good to see you, Dawn. Thank you for being here. And anybody else, we want to give you some time to check in as well. Again, this is Tuesday, January the 28th, 2024. Hello, Craig. Welcome. For all of you who have been sending me Cash App blessings, I just want to say thank you. And I always want to acknowledge you. So that's what I'm doing right now, looking at the list of you all who have been so gracious and so kind. Thank you. Somebody just sent me something just now. God bless you. Heaven smile on you is my prayer. And may the Most High bless you 1,000-fold what you've given me. I know you all watched the video yesterday, most of you that I put up, and that was a video interview that I did with Asir, the Duke of Tears. He is an instructor, an educator, a historian. He has a doctorate in jurisprudence. He studies and researches American history, and he gives lectures on American history. So if you missed that video, please go back and watch it. The name of that video on my YouTube channel and Rumble channel is called America. What's it called? America is being returned to her former glory. This gentleman is a wealth of knowledge. And since, it's been a while since he had been on before I uploaded our interview that yesterday, he's going to come back on Thursday to answer questions and also to talk about what it's going to look like in our new golden reality now that President Trump is in power, and how that's going to look with our government, tribal government, what the wealth is going to look like, what those executive orders that President Trump has done, what it means for we the people here in America and all over the planet. So make sure you tune in Thursday night to watch Asir, the Duke of Tears, explain all the things that I just talked about, because he's been doing this research for a long time. He's got like a library of books, hundreds of books that he's read. And most of you have said that you've enjoyed him every time I've had him on. He talks about the difference between the Moors and Native Americans. He talks about citizenship and just all those type of things. Moving forward, what it looks like with a lot of the illegal immigrants leaving America, and what that means for the rest of us as we'll be here dealing with the repercussions, right? He'll talk about the tariffs and all of the executive orders that you all ask him questions about. So we'll see you Thursday. Evening. It should be between 6 and 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We haven't decided what time yet. But for those of you who have sent me a Cash App blessing, I just want to say thank you so much. I am in my car because I'm picking up my son, but he's at work. But you guys have asked me questions, and I want to honor you. Dennis Perkins, I thank you so much. Tony, Sister Tony Phelps, thank you. My son, David Lattimore. Selah Sadiq, thank you so much for your Cash App blessing. Teresa, I want to thank you. Deborah, thank you. Sharon, God bless you. Sister Carol, thank you. My son, Dexter Phillips, I want to thank you. And Philippa, thank you so much for the Cash App blessing. Hershandra, thank you. Sister Valerie Simmons, God bless you. Alvin, thank you so much. Anthony Newton, I appreciate the Cash App blessing. Who else? Jolita, thank you so much. Delia, thank you. Tristan, God bless you. Hershonda, thank you again. Sister Monica, I appreciate you. Susan Cottrell, thank you. Sister Sherry, thank you. All of you that have just been pouring out your blessings and sending me money, saying you appreciate my work. Cameron, thank you. Sister Brother Theo Wolford, thank you. John, thank you. Who else? Sister Barbara Pittman, God bless you. Sister Linda Rice, thank you so much. Dominique Williams, thank you. Norma, thank you. Wow, Sister Judy Johnson, thank you. Sister Martha, I appreciate you. Sheena, thank you. Sheena Roberts, Beautiful Max Ministry, that's Chief Mac, thank you. And who else? Herchandra, thank you again. Tristan, thank you. My son Douglas, Sister Teresa, Willie Sims, thank you. Wow. Who is that? Our Nicholas, thank you. And Ty Yonda. God bless you all so much for sending me Cash App blessings. I appreciate you. Let me know that you can hear me in the chat. Let me turn this air up. Can you believe it? It's actually hot here in Florida now after many, many days of cold during that cold front. So let me turn this air on just a little bit. So keep checking in, family. So many of you have asked me what is taking the RV so long, the revaluation of currencies and the exchange of currencies so long. What's taking NESARA so long? Why haven't we experienced our wealth? Well, now, let me just say that most of you, if not all of you, know that we have just gone through 4 years of the worst 4 years of most of our lives economically under the Biden administration. And when you think about all that we went through those 4 years, and then we went through the CV and the shutdown all over the globe, that was a lot financially, economically, and it really took a lot of our energy. It took a lot of our money. It took a lot of resources as well in terms of how the federal government was taking care of those things. So now you have President Trump in trying to fix all of the wrongs that have been done the last part of his administration. Really, when he was in between 2016 and 2020, the mainstream media, the deep state, the cabal, the federal government, people all over the world were giving him a hard time because he wasn't a part of the club, so to speak. And he was speaking about renewing or restoring our freedoms, returning us to a golden age, returning us to the gold standard. And so a lot of people took issue with him, and it made it very challenging for him to do his job when he was in the first time. And then we had 4 years of Biden, and they just went roughshod. They ran roughshod. The deep state, the cabal, the United States Incorporated, they did everything they could to try to wear him out and wear us out, and really to eliminate us from off the planet. Well, now that he's in, and he just got inaugurated, 8 days ago on January the 20th, he is doing a lot to use their tools against them, which the tools of the Illuminati and the deep state and the cabal are actually executive orders. And as I've explained this, under the Republic, we don't have executive orders. So we know that he's systematically taking down the deep state using their tool, which is the executive orders, against them. And he's doing it as fast as he can. He's putting out so many executive orders that it's kind of hard to keep up. And when you think about all the things that he's doing, you know that it's going to take time. Okay. It's going to take time, but I want to encourage you to keep your vibrations high, stay positive, because he has come out the gate destroying the deep state. And I'll give you a brief overview of what he's done so far. He's put out so many executive orders that they're not even listed anymore. Like it used to be on his first administration. Whenever you were looking up at executive orders, they would just give you a list. But now he's putting out so many of them that there's no list because they can't keep up. So when you think about some of the things that he's done, I've shown you. Let me show you. Let me just put up this article here. He has put a halt to federal aid. So in his 2-page memorandum from the Office of Management and Budget and Management sent to government agencies, he put a pause on all grants and loans until mid-February to ensure all programs match the administration agenda. Because before that, people were just putting out money into different programs and agendas that didn't necessarily serve a good purpose. So all of these entitlement benefits that people have been getting, just throwing out welfare benefits, throwing out ADCD, I think they call it AFDC, welfare benefits, throwing out food stamps, throwing out money to illegal immigrants and people who are able to work. Okay, you have to at some point say we got to stop just throwing out money and look at the budget and balance the budget. It just makes no sense to keep giving money out to people that are not here lawfully and to able-bodied men and women who can get out and work or start a business. So entitlement benefits, where it may serve a good temporarily, permanently, when you think about entitlement benefits, if you keep giving them out, people become dependent. And now you have people that are receiving welfare benefits permanently and generationally. So he is putting a halt or slowing down the government spending. Hold on for a minute, family. 1 minute. Okay, I'm back. So please let me know that you guys can hear me, okay? One of the things he's doing is, again, putting a halt to all this excessive spending. Now, he also signed a directive creating the Department of Government Efficiency, which he's calling DOGE, a new advisory body on cutting government costs. You know, you guys know about that. He's putting a freeze on federal hiring. And that's a smart thing because remember, he said he is reducing the government. That is something that he decides that is important to do. For people that are a little stressed out or worried about that, think about the Chevron doctrine that was overturned this summer. And I'm glad that I had Asir Dukateers on my video yesterday because he did a little bit of explaining about the Chevron doctrine. The Chevron doctrine was actually something that allowed federal agencies to create their own legalities or laws, rules, statutes, and codes. And they could just make them out of thin air and force everybody to agree with them, like the FBI, the CIA, the EPA, even homeowners association, the DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles. They could just come up with all these policies, laws, rules, codes, whatever you want to call them, and make us abide by them, even though they were against us. And all of these licenses, okay, create all these licenses. And then if one government body wasn't enough, they would just create more and more and more. There was nobody to curtail them. And the Chevron doctrine would say that not only could they force you to go or abide by all their rules, their legalities, but they can also sic their policy enforcers on you if you didn't abide by them. They're police officers and they can give you fines and you can end up in court. That was the Chevron doctrine. Well, the Supreme Court of the United States said that's enough of that. Okay, because what you all have done, number one, is create federal agencies and bureaus or bureaucracies that are not federal. They're not in alignment with the Constitution for our republic. And in fact, the federal government itself is a group of bloodline families that usurp authority from our republic. So all of you all, the federal government and all your agencies are unconstitutional, unlawful, and treasonous. So the overturning of the Chevron doctrine essentially said all of those agencies must cease and desist. And this is why President Trump is halting, putting a freezing hiring on the government workers, because we are restructuring the federal government. A lot of those agencies will be done away with. And I showed you a list of 441 agencies, but I'll put up another list for you and put it in the description section. So we have to put a freezing of hiring so that we can restructure many of those agencies that you all know about, federal agencies. They will be completely dismantled. And anything that needs to be modified, maybe there's some good in some of those agencies that will be reorganized, and we will include those in Republic, but they have to be constitutional. So he's putting a hiring freeze on those federal agencies. Let me roll up my window. I kind of like the real air compared to the air conditioning. And also another directive is censorship. Another executive order seeks to end the weaponization of government against political adversaries. It mandates a review of the work of various law enforcement and intelligence agencies under Biden. In other words, he's redoing a lot of things that Biden did. A lot of the executive orders that Biden put in place, President Trump is getting rid of those executive orders. And I know I said it takes time, but he's doing his best to get those done as soon as possible, as expeditiously as possible. It's only been a week. He signed an order mandating a process to build a missile defense shield, also called an Iron Dome, to protect the United States. He's reshaping the United States military, okay, by eliminating DEI programs. What was it? Diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. And he's reviewing the United States transgender troops. Why is he getting rid of the DEI programs? Because for the most part, diversity, equity, inclusion programs was helping, when you look at the data, it wasn't helping so-called blacks, especially not black men. And the men are the providers and protectors of the black family. Okay, traditionally. I know we have a lot of single women out here raising their kids, particularly in the so-called community classified as black, these Aboriginal, indigenous women, people, the families. But when you look at the data, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, for the most part, benefited white women, okay, which a lot of our Caucasian women or white women may need that support, but it was helping them more than the so-called minorities, and it was helping black women if you are a double minority. But what was it doing for the provider, the men? If you have programs in place that only help women, then the men become unmarriageable. And that's one reason why you see a lot of black families that don't have a husband in the house. We're not even talking about just the masculinization of our women, okay, and all the programs to benefit women. But I'm talking about all the programs that only benefit women, and then there's nothing for the men, and they can't find jobs. So now you don't have a provider and protector at home. That, now you have problems in a marriage if you do have marriage. And the number one reason for divorce is not infidelity, it's actually money, arguments over money. Everybody knows this. This has been the case for the last couple of decades. So these diversity, equity, and inclusion programs were also helping the LBGTQ LMNOP, XYZ, subtract one, put a $sign on it, explanation point community. And I'm not even trying to be disrespectful. I know I'm being a little sarcastic, but when you look at the data, a lot of transgender people were getting benefits from this. And so we have to restructure all of this. And now you're not hiring people based on their sexuality, their gender, or their ethnicity, their race, their skin complexion. Now you're hiring people based on merit. I don't have a problem with that. So President Trump is actually eliminating those DEI programs, or diversity, equity, and inclusion. And anybody that's got a problem with that, anybody that's arguing with that, when you look at them, you look at why they want to support those programs, it doesn't say anything about the continuity of family. Okay. They want benefits that will enable them to stand alone without their husbands, or to continue to suck on the breast of the government and not use their creativity, their skills, their wisdom, their knowledge and education, and their credentials to create their own jobs or to get a job that they qualify for. Look at what he's doing with immigration. He issued bills demanding that the government suspends the physical entry of aliens engaged in an invasion of the United States through the southern border. We all know that there were too many people coming across our borders. And we also know that Biden, under his administration, admitted to allowing 320,000 illegal aliens to come into America. Now I'm getting too hot again. When you look up those articles, now they'll do a fact check. You see Snopes and all these other places saying that that's a lie, but it's too late. I already found the articles, and I've already done reports, and I've already shown you the actual articles when they were still up and read them line by line that said the Biden administration agreed to allowing 320,000 illegal immigrants to come into our country. He's closing the border. He's questioning birthright citizenship as well, denying the rights to citizens, to children of migrants that are here illegally. Why wouldn't he do that? If you don't want your children to be deported, then you need to go home with them. Okay. And the beauty of that is when NESARA comes out, the National Economic Security and Reformation Act, and all of the money that comes out with that, in order to get those benefits, you have to be in your home country anyway. Let's see. He's shutting down routes. The order also shut down a major Biden-era immigration pipeline, which was a sponsorship initiative that allowed 30,000 migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela to fly into the United States. It had been designed to cut illegal crossings. I can tell you that I was doing business with someone and I needed him to come pick up a check. And I asked him, I was like, what took you so long to get here? I was like, we were supposed to meet a week ago. Now we're running into 2 weeks. What happened? And he said, a gentleman from Europe, actually, and we were doing business together. He said, and he is legal and lawful. He was like, Kia, I work also in the car industry. I own a car lot. He said, a lot of people, a lot of the people here in America that have bought cars from me, right before Trump got inaugurated, they were dropping their cars off in Miami. And I had to go fly down there with my crew and pick up those cars because they're trying to run to Mexico, run to Venezuela, run to Cuba, wherever they can run to, because they were here unlawfully, illegally. A lot of them were illegal. We're finding out they were illegal aliens. But they had enough money and documents to get the cars, or they were, dating people that got the cars for them. But they made a mad rush toward the border because as long as Biden or a liberal was in office, they felt comfortable. And now they're trying to bum rush the border, and Trump is just helping that along. Trump is also signing off on tariffs. This weekend, or last weekend, he ordered 25% tariffs and on Mexico and some of the other nations. That would include more than 20% of the United States coffee supply and a large supply of America's fresh cut flowers. Let's see. What are they saying here? Over the weekend, world leaders saw their first glimpse at how Trump may approach tariff negotiations. Okay. Last week, Trump said the tariffs on Canada and Mexico would come on February the 1st, and he ordered federal officials to review the United States trade relationships for unfair practices, including those with Canada, Mexico, and China. When you think about putting tariffs on other countries, some people have a problem with that. I'll get back to that. But let me explain to you. One way that the government can make money is by putting tariffs on other countries. And that's the way it used to be. But when you had a lot of liberals, and some of whom were not even legal, serving in the presidency and serving in administration, they stopped putting tariffs on countries and start putting tariffs or taxes on we the people. Okay, so you can't have it both ways. It's either or. How is the government going to make money? It makes more sense to put tariffs on these countries, that want to import or do business with us. That way, the country, if they want to do business with us, they can import their goods, and the government can make money from it. If we don't like that, then buy American. Okay, buy American, and you don't have to worry about whether or not Trump is putting tariffs on these other countries. But the good thing is also that President Trump has stated that he is making it more viable and feasible for those companies that moved abroad to come back home. So you had a lot of companies that moved to China in order to do business because it was, the regulations were, and the red tape was just too much here, and the taxes of the companies. So they moved abroad. Now, for those of you invested in Vietnam, let me explain something just briefly. What happened was a lot of companies moved to China, especially under Trump's first administration, when Trump was talking about, all of the problems that we were having, how we needed to tax China. And then there was the trade wars and the tariff wars and, the argument between China and Trump. The companies that had moved to China said, you know what? He's coming down on China now. We already left the United States. Now he's coming down hard on China. We're going to go to Vietnam. So a lot of those companies left China and went to Vietnam. And what they did for Vietnam was actually it made their GDP, or gross domestic product, explode. And Vietnam started doing very well. And some of their ports were still open and their borders were open during the global pandemic or the shutdown. So when everybody else was struggling, Vietnam was thriving because the companies that had gone there were able to exploit the workforce and have low wage, pay the workers low wages, exploit the resources. Also, Vietnam did trade agreements with Southeast Asian countries, and they were just booming. Again, even during the pandemic. So if you're interested in Vietnam and you're invested in Vietnam, then please know Vietnam is doing very well. I did a video called Don't Sleep on Vietnam because their country is doing very well. And Vietnam also got rid of their whole political administration. Thank you for the Cash App blessing, family. And they tapped on many of the billionaires that are here in America. and ask the billionaires to come and invest in their country. Vietnam did that, Iraq did that, and Venezuela did that as well. So President Trump knows what he's doing. So President Trump is putting tariffs on those countries that want to import, and that's a way that the government can make money. Another thing, not since I said that the other option, if he doesn't tax the government, the countries, is you could tax the people, okay, through the IRS. But President Trump has stated that he wants to get rid of the Internal Revenue Services. And he said in his speech before he became inaugurated and during his inauguration, I am going to dismantle the Internal Revenue Service and create the External Revenue Service and tax other countries. He also is pulling out of the Paris Climate Agreement. He signed off on the Paris Climate Agreement, which was a landmark international deal to limit rising global temperatures. He'll have to wait a year, they're saying, according to this article, before it happens. He previously withdrew us in 2017. Thank you so much for the blessing. God bless you. I appreciate you. Who's that? Oh, Chief Matt, God bless you. I love you, honey. I love you. And I love you all that are sending me a blessing. Those of you who are asking, my Cash App is $ Mama Kia 13. That's $ MAMAKIA 13. And also, I want to thank, I don't want to be on long, Brother Dennis Perkins, and Tom Phelps. Thank you. So he's getting rid of the Paris Climate Agreement. And he's also declared a national state of emergency and promised to fill our oil reserves. Remember, he said, drill, baby, drill, so we can get oil from our own country. And we don't have to depend on Saudi Arabia or any other nation. What else is he doing? He signed an executive order unleashing Alaska's extraordinary resource potential, pledging to unlock oil, gas, and other natural resources from the state. Alaska is a part of our union anyway, and it's a part of the republic. It will be. That's why, he's been talking about Alaska, Mexico, Canada, mostly Mexico and Canada. And that he has a desire to bring all of these nations back under the umbrella of the United States Incorporated. That's what it looks like to the naked eye, but essentially what he's doing is he's bringing back the republic. All of the continents and the little countries or whatever, or the state of Canada, whatever you want to call it, he's bringing them right back under our republic, because that was how it looked before the bloodline families and these people that usurped authority from our republic actually cut those different parts into pieces. So he's just bringing everything right back under our umbrella. He halted the Green New Deal as well. And what else? He pulled us out of the World Health Organization. He also declared that the United States will only recognize two sexes, male and female. So now you don't have to worry about men dressed up in women's garb going into the bathrooms, molesting your children. Like this, these are serious things that President Trump is doing and undoing. We already talked about diversity, equity, and inclusion. For a period of time, he shut down TikTok, and who knows what he might do from there. He shut it down because he said, look, it was owned by Russia. And people are asking me how he speaks from, both sides of his neck. At one point, he was saying he was against TikTok, and then he brought TikTok back up, and now he might shut it down again. Well, until he could make sure that it was owned by America and not China, he had to do what he had to do. And when you think about these social media platforms being owned by other countries, and you see how what they allow us to do or what's going on the TikTok format that's in America is completely different from TikTok in China. TikTok in China teaches them about science, about STEM, science, technology, energy, engineering, and math, and teach them about things that could further their country, whereas our TikTok initially was about doing the waterboarding challenge, the eating salt challenge. And, it evolved over time and people start sharing knowledge and information, but you also had people targeting children on TikTok and bringing them away from the app and having them trafficked. So you have to temporarily suspend certain things until you can make sure America owns it and is monitored and heavily regulated. And he's dealing with the J6 issue. He's, also issuing out pardons, and he's doing a whole lot of things to reverse some of Biden's policies. He's actually making sure that anything that kept us enslaved or bound economically and financially, he wants to make sure he undoes that. And it's not just him that's doing it, it's a military force behind him. It's the Earth Alliance. And these things take time. Speaking of finances and economics, people have asked me, what about what President Trump is doing with, Bitcoin? He's been talking about digital coins and digital assets. And that's a question that a couple of people have asked me, like, shouldn't we be worried about that? Why is he talking about digital coins and digital assets when the rest of the world, like BRICS, is talking about gold? So let me just pause here briefly to say that it's not just President Trump that's talking about Bitcoin and digital assets. BRICS is also talking about digital assets. Yes, it's true that the Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa coalition, or the BRICS bloc, did coalesce against the West, or the United States Incorporated. And what they're actually doing is fighting against the financial economic system and financial economic hegemony that the United States Incorporated, the cabal, the deep state had, their powerhouse, their stronghold, the fiat money system. So they drop the dollar for trade and they start using gold and silver. That's true. In America, 46 states have done the same thing to reclaim gold and silver. They're saying we no longer want to use the fiat dollar. We no longer want to depend on greenbacks, but we're reclaiming gold and silver. And I've shown you article after article that states that. You can look up the Sound Money Defense League article that says 46 states have repealed state sales tax from the sales of precious metals. In essence, that means that they are reclaiming silver and gold as money. That's why you see states now issuing out gold backs or gold RM notes. That's 24 karat gold, and some of them is 14 karat gold. Real 0.999 pure gold pressed onto a note. 14 karat gold or 24 karat gold that you can use to buy local goods and services. So states here in America they're doing the same thing to reclaim gold and silver as money. The last remaining states are New Mexico, Maine, Hawaii, and Vermont. And they are slated to change over to using gold and recognizing gold and silver as money this year. So we just came into 2025, and it's not true that they're kicking the can down the road. People keep texting me and putting, these snide remarks under my videos. You're just trying to kick the can down the road, telling people to be encouraged and things take time. No, I'm not. What I'm saying is things literally take time. It took thousands of years to enslave us. We ought to be happy that now we have people in place that's dismantling the system. We ought to be grateful. The reason why you think we're kicking the can down the road is because a lot of us have been listening to gurus who are saying it's going to happen tomorrow. They've been saying it's going to happen tomorrow for the last 8 years. Maybe they're getting intel that make them think it's going to happen, tomorrow or today or the next day. But it's up to you and me to do our own due diligence, okay? To research to see when things are happening. This is not something that you can necessarily specify a date that it's going to happen. You have to just read the information, know what's going on, keep your vibrations high, stay positive, and stay in alignment with the good news that's coming out, okay? So this isn't date oriented or, something you can specifically put a time on. It's event driven. All investments are influenced by geopolitical news, elections, geopolitical outcomes. All investments are also influenced by what's going on economically, geopolitically, globally, and in your nation. That's why I report on geopolitical news, okay? So the reason why it's taking long is because we have to totally dismantle this system. All the things that Trump is doing to disrupt or dismantle the deep state, the cabal, the Illuminati, the fake government takes time, and he's doing it quickly. Look at all the executive orders that he's kicking out. So many you can't hardly keep up. At the same time, you have the Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa bloc, and you have the Shanghai Corporation, which is the Asian nations, eliminating their presidents, getting rid of their parliaments, mining gold, repatriating their gold back to them, dropping the United States dollar, using their own currencies, local currencies for trade, this is actually moving pretty quick when you think about thousands of years of enslavement, because the United States Incorporated that you guys know about, the fake government, these bloodline families, is the pseudo Roman Empire. When you think about how old the Roman Empire is, you see how many thousands of years they've been doing this. But President Trump, the Earth Alliance, the Galactic Federation, or whoever, galactic beings that are here to help, they're doing things really, really quickly when you think of thousands of years of enslavement. Okay. So back to the Bitcoin question. I'm not necessarily an expert on Bitcoin, but I do know a lot of you are invested in digital coins or digital assets. And for those of you who are saying America shouldn't be talking about that because BRICS isn't talking about it, BRICS is only talking about gold and using their own gold-backed currencies, I want to encourage you, before you have a knee-jerk reaction to geopolitical news, and before you listen to mainstream media and you listen to gurus that tell you to be worried and be upset and Trump doesn't know what he's doing, keep your emotions in check and balance and do the research for yourself, or look for the good information and people that's going to, put out the information that will encourage you. Look, BRICS, according to Watcher Guru, may introduce Bitcoin reserves, according to experts. And anytime they talk about Bitcoin, they're talking about digital assets. There are other articles that talk about the BRICS Union thinking about and speaking about digital assets and using their own payment platform that's different from the SWIFT monetary system, et cetera, et cetera. So did I take you out? I hope I didn't kick you out of this article. So some people say Bitcoin will go away, but just when you think of Bitcoin, think about digital coins, digital assets. This article came out yesterday. BRICS to introduce Bitcoin reserve. United States experts say it's possible. Again, if they're talking about Bitcoin, they're talking about digital assets, period. Both the BRICS Alliance and the United States have been engaged in some brewing geopolitical conflict over the last month. With United States President Trump eyeing a steep 100% tariff threat, all eyes are on what the blocs could do. Moreover, with both sides looking to continue their growth in digital asset classes, remember, I said Bitcoin is not just about Bitcoin, it's about digital coins, digital assets. One expert says that BRICS could be set to introduce its own Bitcoin reserve. And I'm going to leave this in the description section for you to read, both on my Rumble and YouTube channels. The United States follows the announcement that the U.S. would be introducing its own cryptocurrency stockpile. It's not the strategic BTC reserve that many had hoped, but it still will see the country firmly embrace the asset class. So again, for those of you that are asking me, why is Trump talking about digital assets? Nobody else is talking about it. BRICS isn't talking about it. No other nations. Yes, they are. And anytime you see articles that say they might or they're thinking about, they've already done it. So let me reiterate that the monetary instruments that we will use in this golden reality that we've already ushered in are silver and gold, which is why the BRICS bloc and the Shanghai Corporation have stopped trading with the dollar and start using their own currencies backed by gold, silver, and precious metals. And it's the reason why they repatriated their gold back to them from the Vatican. So there we will be using gold and silver. We'll be using currencies backed by gold and silver and or digital assets. And this is why you see a rollout of all these things happening all over the world. Yes, we will have an option between which of those three to use. And if you don't like digital assets, it's okay. You might want to get into it. And then as your assets do well, take your assets out of your wallets and invest in hard assets like silver and gold, okay? Or a business or real estate. By the way, the real estate market is now doing a little better. When you think about Evergrande, which is the largest real estate company that was owned by China, filing for bankruptcy here in America a couple of years ago, last year, the year before, not only did they file bankruptcy here in America because they owned a lot of land here, a lot of farmland, a lot of land, a lot of real estate, but they were forced to liquidate their assets. And when you think about those big companies like BlackRock, what else? What are some of the other ones? I can't think of their names, but those that bought up a lot of real estate, a lot of complexes, those companies that had done that during the pandemic and put the rents so high that people couldn't afford them. They were trying to take advantage of people not having a place to live because a lot of people's homes were foreclosed on. Now they had to rent. So those companies actually made the rent so high that now you have a whole lot of homeless people. Well, all of those homes that they couldn't fill up and all those apartment complexes are now being dumped onto the market. So those of you that have hard assets, you'll be able to invest in real estate. So you see the market, the real estate market, that's dumping out houses back onto the market. The automobile market started crashing last summer. And in fact, I did a report last summer that said that a lot of people couldn't afford to pay their automobile loans. So companies were going out to repossess those cars, but they didn't have enough workers to repossess all the cars. So they were like, oh my God, the automobile crash has happened already. So family, please try to stay encouraged. Please stay focused. Things are happening behind the scenes. So that's one question that was asked about Bitcoin. Why are we talking about Bitcoin? No other nation is. What BRICS block isn't. Yes, they are. They're talking about digital assets. And then when you bring back this article that talks about something else President Trump is doing, he's investing in artificial intelligence. And I've gotten phone calls from all over the world. You hear me? Phone calls, messages, text messages, people upset that Trump is investing in artificial intelligence. And I'm not worried about artificial intelligence. I'm going to use it to my own benefit because we've had artificial intelligence for the longest time. They've been talking about this for like decades. I think what's happening is people are putting out podcasts and telling everybody to be worried and afraid. And so that fear is spreading. Ooh, I thought this car that's parking next to me was about to hit me. So that fear that's spreading is making people worried. I'm not worried about him investing in billionaires or anything to invest in artificial insemination or artificial intelligence because, as my friend Taj Diami Bay told me, your street lights that's artificial intelligence. We've had that for the longest time. No telling how many things we're already using as artificial intelligence. So yes, he signed a directive called the Removing Barriers to American Leadership in Artificial Intelligence. But what he's doing is making America, according to what the articles say, a world leader or a global leader in artificial intelligence because the whole world is moving towards artificial intelligence. The quantum financial system that everybody in this space talks about is artificial intelligence. We have been told that the quantum financial system, or QFS, is a system that have been gifted to us from the galactic beings or interdimensional beings or non-human beings. And it's a sentient system that can monitor people spending, and it has energy signatures on this quantum financial system that will replace the SWIFT system and the old banking system so that only you can access your account. Well, what do you think quantum financial system of QFS is? It's artificial intelligence. And if you're thinking about how robots are now bringing people food, and robots are now operating certain cars, and robots or artificial intelligence is operating different systems that we already have in place. And how when you go through Walmart, now you can, the self-checkout, nobody's actually bagging up the groceries or taking your credit card for you or your cash to do those transactions. What it seemed like to me is that the whole world is changing. Think about those freedom cities that Trump talked about, where you have flying cars and you have automatic cars and you have robots that are doing things that kind of simulate or put you in the mind of what happened during the Jetsons era. Remember that cartoon, The Jetsons? If you think about how we're going to move to a whole new era where to you and me, artificial intelligence look like something new, but it's something that other civilizations was doing a long time ago. All they did is reverse engineered all the things that these civilizations have been doing that were advanced before they actually took away all that and created the system in which we live now that enslaved us. They're only returning back to something that these advanced civilizations already had. Now, if you don't like it, then we don't have to participate. That's how I see it. But if it's a worry or concern, I say, then instead of being afraid, instead of being worried, instead of sending me nasty email and telling me that, President Trump is doing something to harm the system, and instead of calling me names, why don't we look to create something that we think might be better for us? In terms of science and technology, he is establishing what the White House calls the President's Council on Advisories on Science and Technology. The group will consist of no more than 24 members, including an assistant to the president for science and technology. And that's important because it's not only for AI, advisors for AI or artificial intelligence and digital assets, but you need science, technology, engineering, and math in order to advance your civilization, in order to advance your society. Again, remember I said he wants to make America a global leader. All countries are considering this. So we got to rebuild the infrastructure. We have to have different types of technologies. So he's putting money into that arena. And this is probably why a lot of people were pouring money into the STEM discipline, science, technology, engineering, and math when my kids were small. So I'm just thinking out loud. In terms of digital financial technology, he signed an executive order to regulate and promote the digital asset or crypto industry and to explore the creation of digital assets. And he's also declassifying records. Like, what kind of records? Assassination of President John Fitzgerald Kennedy. And speaking of John Fitzgerald Kennedy, let me just encourage you all to look forward to John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr.'s second book, which will be released. And I'm going to bring him on my podcast to talk about how book number two has just come out. Well, I think he's making some copies, but hopefully you can do a pre-sale. So John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr. is a gentleman that says that he is the real son of President John Fitzgerald Kennedy. He wrote a book called Stolen Identity. You can look at that book called Stolen Identity, Unveiling the Real Identity of John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr. You can buy it on Amazon, or you can buy it on John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr.'s website. I'll put all that information in the description section for you. He also goes by his government name, David Keith Quigley. So I'll bring him on to talk more about his second book. I just wanted to mention that since I'm saying that they're going to declassify the documents that have been held up in regards to his father's death. And they're going to declassify Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination records too, which is going to be good. But you guys better be prepared, because some of y'all are going to realize that some of the things that we thought MLK Jr. was involved in for our benefit may not have been for our benefit. Or was it? Some people say his name's not really Martin Luther King, it's Michael. And then some people question whether or not his name is really Luther King Jr. But there have been some rumors that, that says that he was friends with the Rothschilds. They have pictures all over the internet with him that being very close friends, it says, with the Rothschilds. And, it would be a good idea to declassify a lot of the evidence that was put forward about who assassinated him. Some people say that he's not even dead. So I can't wait to see all of these documents coming out. So look at all the things that President Trump has been doing, and it's only been a week. And people are complaining, why is it taking so long? It should have happened yesterday. You're kicking the can down the road. And I'm just saying, I don't know how long you guys think taking down a deep state that's been operating for centuries should take. He's also, President Trump and the Earth Alliance is renaming the Gulf of Mexico. He directed the Secretary of the Interior to change the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Why? Because originally it was the Gulf of America. The whole continent, the Gulf of America, or the Gulf of Mexico, Canada, Caribbean island, you're going to learn that a whole lot of different areas that are segmented or divided right now are going to be brought right back. All President Trump is doing is restoring the republic, and then the republic is going to be turned over to tribal governments, tribal way of doing things, the way things were done before we had these bloodline families to steal the government and authorities from our republic. And I'll have, again, I see the Duke of Tears, who has a doctorate, who is a historian, who knows about Moorish history, who knows about the history of America before the Europeans came here. He knows about the history of America and the ancient dynasties. He's going to answer all our questions on Thursday night. And he'll talk about why President Trump is doing some of these things. President Trump also recognized the Lumbee tribe, because many people that were a part of this group of 55,000 Native Americans who mostly live in North Carolina had been trying to be recognized, and they hadn't been recognized, for under many other different administrations, and now he's recognizing them. Another thing that this document doesn't say, that I covered on my podcast the other day, is he is questioning birthright citizenship for Native Americans. And the reason why he's doing that, again, I hope you saw the podcast that I did with I See the Duke of Tears yesterday, because he covered this, because the Native Americans are not American. The 1825 Webster's definition and old definitions of American is the copper-colored races and or aboriginals found here by Europeans, but now applied to the Europeans. So the copper-colored races or aboriginal people were the so-called Black people who had their designation or their classification renamed from aboriginal and American to Negro, colored, Black, African American. Okay, the Indians, the natural Americans, or original Americans, are the so-called Black people here. The Native Americans came here from Asia by crossing the Bering Strait. You have to listen to my podcast yesterday that I See the Duke of Tears, because he talked about exactly who they are, how, when you think about it, how are they the Aboriginal people and they have teepees? Okay, the Aboriginal people built up all of these glorious mosques and buildings that you see, these so-called federal buildings. The Aboriginal copper-colored people that were here before the Europeans came built those up. They built the pyramids. They built these majestic buildings. But the people that were in teepees, God bless them, Native Americans are not Aboriginal Americans. Now, they're not natural born Americans. That's why I did a brief video on the difference between natural born and native born. Natural born means that you sprung from the soil. Your ancestors came from that place. The dirt that's in the soil and the genetic code that's in the soil is the genetic code and the dirt that's in your colon. Your ancestors came that place. Natural born from that place. Native born actually means you came from somewhere else. You might have been born on the land, but you came from somewhere else. There's a difference between native born and natural born. So just because you were native born or born here does not mean that you should automatically be considered American, because you're not. And your children that were born here are not automatically American. Now, you can fact check me on this and see that the forefathers addressed this when it came to who can be lawfully a president. They said, if you want to be a president here, you have to be natural born in America and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. You see that same language Trump using when he talks about who's American, who's not, who should have birthright citizenship and who shall not. But what he's actually doing, he's putting out the language here. He's putting this intel out little by little, because citizenship is actually enslavement. Okay, citizenship actually relates to the United States Incorporated. So what he's doing is he's bringing to the forefront who certain people are, so you can know. Eventually, he's going to let you know who the original Americans are, the people who are the stewards of the land, the people that have the rightful so-called ownership. We don't own land, but rightful ownership of America and their own government. So again, he's transitioning us to the republic. He's using the tools of the deep state, the executive orders, against them, destroying it, then ushering us into the republic, and then the republic will go back into tribal ways of doing things. And people ask me, why do you keep saying the same thing over and over? Because you have different people coming in the live at different times, and because I'm just trying to make sure I'm driving home this point. So when the forefathers framed the reference for who can become president, they said you have to be natural born and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. So Kamala Harris, for example, she was not natural born. People was like, she was born here, but she wasn't natural born. She was native born. Her people came from somewhere else. And if she was born here, she's subject to the jurisdiction of the state of California, but she's not natural born. John Eastman, look him up. He talks about that. He says the reason why you want to only allow people to serve the country, especially in a position of president, make sure they were natural born, because those people have allegiance to the people in America. So it's not just about proximity or where you were born. It's also about allegiance. So when you are native born and you come from another place, your allegiance, according to the Constitution, is to the home of your ancestors, and particularly your parents. So even the Native Americans would tell you, if they're truthful, and I've shown a video about that, that they were brought here or allowed to come here to steal the identity of the Aboriginal copper color races, the so-called Black people here. They got the benefits, they got the land, they got reservation rights. But remember what Trump says, they don't look like Indian to me, because he knows who they are. So I did a video that talks about birthright citizenship. So President Trump is bringing that to the forefront as we talk about who's an immigrant, who's a migrant, because there's a difference. Immigrants come from other places. Migrant may come from Mexico. They might come from Canada. But again, all of that is America. They're just leaking out information little by little just to prepare you for the transition into the republic and then into tribal governments. So why is it taking so long for the NESARA to be announced? And why is it taking so long for the National Economic Security Reformation Act to actually inject trillions of dollars into the global economy and here in America? And why is it taking so long for us to do an exchange on our currencies? The reason why it's taking so long, my darlings, is because President Trump, the Earth Alliance, the military, and those galactic beings that are helping everything move along is systematically destroying the deep state, getting rid of all of the people that are in power, that are against us, and replacing them. And they're dismantling the financial system, the Federal Reserve. The End of Fed Act was already put on the table. Trump is talking about dismantling the Federal Reserve. They got to take down all of that. They're talking about getting rid of the SWIFT system, financial system, and ushering in the quantum financial system. That they're ushering in the gold standard. They have to dismantle all of the old, destroy it, and usher in the new. Otherwise, you could go to make currency exchanges now, and the bad people that are in power will steal your money and re-empower themselves. The banks have to be compliant. That's why you see so many banks actually now failing and collapsing. I'll do another video on how many more banks are collapsing, because the ones that are not Basel III compliant, that not recognize gold as a tier 1 asset, that are not prepared to receive your tier 2 foreign reserves, your foreign currencies for the exchanges, all of those will be done away with. And the remaining ones are being absorbed to the United States Treasury Department. Call the United States Treasury Department. You can even call the IRS and ask, who is in control of the money in America? Even the IRS would tell you it's the United States Treasury Department. Their representatives that still remain, because most of them are gone. So you have to dismantle the system. Otherwise, they will steal your money and re-empower themselves. No, it's not going to take years to happen. I said it's not, I can't say which date, but look at how fast Trump is doling out those executive orders. And also keep in mind that we're going to have a 250-year commemoration or anniversary celebration. That's going to be a year-long celebration between Memorial Day in May of this year, 2025, and July 4th, the 4th of July of 2026. Why are we having that year-long celebration? They're going to celebrate 250 years of the United States of America, or the United States, not America, but the United States of America. Okay, which is two different things. We're going to have that year-long celebration in Iowa on their fairgrounds, their state fairgrounds. Okay, that's something that could be a marker. Maybe they're going to have something else to happen before then, because we know the lawful elections for our republic, you can look it up and fact check me, is actually March the 4th. Will it happen this March the 4th? I don't know, but President Trump was asked to give a speech on March the 4th. And I'll do another podcast on that, how it was signed off. And I'm like, wow, that is actually the lawful inauguration date. So things take time, but I see a lot of things moving fast. You see the whole world rushing towards gold. Look up that King's World article. I've shown it to you many times. That said the whole world is hurtling back towards gold. Let me see if I can find it. And then I got to go because my son is picking me. I'm picking my son up. King's World. Look up King's World on your own computer, but I'll show it to you right here. The world is hurtling back to using gold as money, just to let you know that this is real. It talks about how the BRICS bloc is actually, and this article came out 2023. The BRICS bloc, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, has allowed or tapped on the shoulders of other nations to join them, how they stopped trading with the dollar and they're rushing to gold as money, gold and silver. Okay. Then I told you and I showed you the articles that said 46 states in America are reclaiming silver and gold as money. You also know about the Gold Standard Restoration Act, which was introduced by Alexander Mooney, Paul Gosar, Andy Briggs. They did introduce those bills 2018, 2022, 2023 to define the dollar as a fixed weight in gold. But all of what they're all doing, these lawmakers and people behind the scenes, is they are moving towards letting everybody know that we're bringing back the republic, because the Constitution for our republic says the only thing that can be used as money is silver and gold. So you see them moving towards the gold standard. You see states saying they're not going to allow central bank digital currencies in their states. And that should let you know that we're moving back towards the republic. Look at the 10th Amendment of the Constitution. It'll tell you that state communities and local communities have more power than the federal government, and that the federal government only has the power that you give it. So if you want to see things move more rapidly, operate at the community level and the state level. You have more power than the federal government. But the federal government is going away with the overturning of the Chevron doctrine. So everything is in place. And I showed you the articles. I did a whole podcast. Look for it. I'll put it in the description section for you. That said banks are ready. It says good news for currency holders. Banks are ready for currency exchanges. Banks met globally last year to make sure they were ready to receive foreign currency reserves or foreign currencies. These are in place. Banks are ready. Governments are ready. What I mean by government, countries are ready. We're ready. All we need now to take us over is remaining positive. Stay positive. Don't listen to negative news. And knowing that this isn't date driven. So anybody that's been telling you it's going to happen tomorrow, thank you for the Cash App blessing. Wendy Sims, God bless you. Have a smile on you. Anybody that's saying it's tomorrow, they probably just don't have all the information, or maybe they got faulty information. And then some people just say it's going to happen today because, maybe they just need more people to follow them. I don't know. But I can tell you, people have been saying tomorrow for the last 8-9 years since I've been in this area of being an independent journalist. And I will also tell you that I know so-called whales. I've interviewed them on my channel. And every time they say whales have gone to the bank, they got money, pay attention to what they're saying. People say they went to the bank to exchange. They can see the money in their account, but they're not accessing their money. Whether or not they've exchanged is up for debate. But I've talked to people that I've had on my podcast that have made multi-millions, that have invested in these currencies, that consider themselves whales, who have told me they have not been to the bank. Now, maybe they're not as big as whales as the whales that some of the other gurus are talking about. Okay. What I have been told for the years that I've been in this is that we're all going to go to the banks together. What I've also been told is that, this is just what I've been told, the banks will be now deemed as wealth management centers. I don't know anything about a redemption center. I know people talk about redemption center. I just don't know about that. What I know about is doing a quick, simple exchange at the wealth management center, also known as a bank. And all of your currencies will be when you do an exchange, it will be gold back, but it will be digital. You can take those digital currencies again and buy silver and gold, or maybe you'll get a silver certificate and you can get gold and silver from the banks. We do know that over the last 2 years, banks have been amassing gold in record numbers, and I've done podcasts on that. Everything just about is in place. All it takes is patience, being positive, and doing your own research. So instead of, being mad at independent journalists who's giving the intel that they know, why not do the research for yourself? And then that way you don't have to depend on other people and then get mad at them if they're saying something different than what you heard somebody else say. So again, it's not that people are kicking down the can down the road. I'm not. It's just that certain things have to be in place before you do a currency exchange and make everybody wealthy so that we can maintain our wealth. So I hope I've been encouraging to you, family. I'm doing my best to share the intel that I have and to show you proof of what I have when I come before you live or when I present a video before you. So that's about it, family. I don't really have time to answer questions. Can we all fit in the car? There are 1,477 of you. You're in a car with me right now, so to speak. I don't have time to answer questions. My son is off right now. But I hope I said something to encourage you and just to tell you, please keep your emotions in check. Try to stay even keeled. Try to stay positive and only listen to the information that's going to benefit you. Okay. So having said that, family, I'm going to wrap it up. I'll probably come back later on today to talk about more intel. But remember, Thursday night, we will have Asir, the Duke of Tears, to talk up more about our republic, more about Trump's executive orders, what's going on here with returning us to the gold standard and to the golden era, and how this puts us in alignment with what's going on with the rest of the world. So thank you for joining me, family. Thank you for your time. Thank you for hitting the like button. Share the video, please. Tell people to subscribe to the channel. I do my best to only give positive news. And even if we give bad news, we always do a positive spin. Also, thank you for supporting my channel, for giving me a Cash App. I appreciate you. I love you so much. My name is Dr. Kia Pruitt. I hope I've said something to raise your vibrations and inspire you to create the most amazing, magnificent life that you desire and deserve. Peace, family. I love you. I got to go. Bye-bye. Go out and make this a great day. And any change you want to create, go create it. Don't wait for somebody else. Be the change that you desire to see in the world. Peace.